enemy uses civilians to try to protect themselves. So that's why I think some people are very wary. It would be like, you know how many civilians died during World War II? You know how many people died in Japan when it was bombed? We have to cry for any innocent civilian. The question, who is killing the civilians? Is it the Israelis, or is it the Hamas in their own cynicism that they want? Part of their strategy is to use civilians. So they don't have no problem martyring their own children for their cause. And that's a major.
If we're going to be literal, I mean, is it the Hamas bullet or bomb that's killing the Palestinian civilians?
It was the American atom bomb that killed the Japanese. But
yeah,
there was a reason why they had to drop the bomb.
I'm not talking about the reason. I'm just saying, and I don't want to have you walk back from what you said at the beginning, which I think you meant, which is that you feel bad for the civilians, and let's
but just to be clear, because I don't want to be misunderstood. For me, because I feel bad for the civilians in Gaza, that's why I think Hamas has to be completely, utterly destroyed.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a bit of a catch-22, I guess, because yes, they're using civilian shields, but then when Israel bombs or shoots at Hamas and it necessarily hits a civilian, it doesn't. So that for them to say, well, we had no choice, you're using civilian shields. I mean, you do have a choice. Israel does have agency, and
okay. Well, we may respectfully disagree about that.
Yeah. Well, I guess what my point is that the comment about civilian shields, we agree. And so therefore we both agree that in order for Israel to attack Hamas, because Hamas uses civilian shields, therefore Israel has to kill civilians if they want to attack Hamas, right?
Well, just like they had to kill civilians during World War II because the Nazis were embedded within Germany.
And we should feel bad. And we should feel bad for German civilians.
So that's why I opened my remarks. But at the same time, I think it's Hamas that is hurting their own children more than anybody else. Like Golda Meir said, that when they will love their children more than they hate us, we will have real peace. Let me put it to you this way. Why doesn't Hamas simply surrender, give up all the hostages, and there will be no more killing of any civilians? Why is nobody calling them to do that?
I think plenty of people condemn Hamas. I think
no, but I just said to you, you want to end this. It's very simple. You want to stop the killing of civilians, simply surrender, throw out the white flag, give up the hostages, and stop calling for the destruction of Israel. Anyway, I think I made my point. And
I think the point that's important to me is that however they died, whoever killed them, that we feel bad that they died. And I think that point is unfortunately lost a lot of times because people are fixated on, the idea that the war has to happen. And I think whether or not the war has to happen is a separate point from whether we feel bad for people dying. And I think what you said at the beginning is that one of the first things you said is we feel, I just think it's so
I don't want it to be misunderstood because the people who say that often have very different intentions than I had. That's why I'm clarifying.
So what was your intention in saying that?
That this Hamas has to be utterly destroyed because they've brought 40,000 of their own civilians to such a circumstance.
Yeah. And we feel bad for those civilians.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I have a conclusion.
But both are
as other people's conclusion is that Israel's at fault and Israel should be condemned.
Yeah.
That's where I differ.
Well, it's a complicated, you're not a military strategist, you're a rabbi. That's the other thing, asking you these questions, like this is not your area of expertise, right? It's the Torah, which is separate from military warfare. But I wanted to ask you regardless, but I think
military strategy is not a mystery. There's a logic to it. There's common sense. If somebody came, God forbid, attacked your family in your home, you wouldn't go call someone that's a military strategist. You would do everything to protect your children, right?
The difference here is that the relationship between Gaza and Israel is such that Israel, and you can say this is for security measures, I won't debate you on that, but Israel has, as you know, had Gaza under a blockade since they left Gaza in 2007. And so Gaza, as you know, is not a very nice place to live, in large part because of Hamas. That's one big reason. Another reason that I think that Netanyahu would agree with this is that Israel has needed to block weapons from getting into Gaza for their security. And who's going to dispute that? But when they block weapons and they have this blockade, it also unfortunately can make it harder for them to get food and to build their houses. And
Yeah, but you missed maybe the biggest one.
yeah.
Had the Arab world in 1948 not declared war on Israel and called for its annihilation, we wouldn't have these problems in the first place. You ever think of that?
But here we are. I mean,
Israel has never called. Israel doesn't have anything
Yeah.
in its constitution calling for the destruction of the Arab or Muslim community.
Well, I mean, Benny Morris, the Israeli historian, even him who's pro-Israeli, kind of points out that there's components of Zionism, which in Herzl's diary, for example, which talk about expulsion of Palestinians. So the Arabs in the area had they were worried that Israel would end up taking over their land, and maybe it was an irrational fear, but without going back to 1948, look, all I want to say is that the relationship between Israel and Gaza is such that life in Gaza is not that pleasant, and the idea that there's other ways, Israel has other levers to create peace